Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. This video is going to be one just talking about Lisbon, specifically the neighborhood that we lived in, and something that happened just before we moved. So as I referenced, and many of you know, we lived in Lisbon from 2019 through August of 2024. And before we left, obviously we had our property up for sale, and I think it was the week we listed it. So this was the timing was interesting. There was a homicide that took place one block from us, and I'm going to put it up on the map of where the location was. But there was a dismembered body found in a garbage dumpster, and it freaked a lot of people out. And it's interesting because that's something that you don't normally hear of, that type of thing happening, especially in Portugal. Although when I spoke to the police, because there was a lot of tape up where cars could or couldn't go for a while, so I was just mentioning, they didn't really say, they didn't give any information out that wouldn't already be public knowledge, but it took a while to hit some of the newspapers. And I did talk to one police officer who happened to live in our area, and I just said, what's going on here? And he said, well, there have been a handful of machete-related incidents in our particular area. It was called Lapa. And he said they're almost exclusively done by a particular immigrant group. And it was sort of, they were fighting amongst themselves. So let's say it was something in an apartment. He said it would not be uncommon to have a handful of workers in an apartment. There's a disagreement over something, and it may be pushing and shoving, may lead to a fist fight, but often would lead to an attack with a machete. So initially he was thinking, well, maybe this is what was going on here. But our timing was precarious because we were trying to sell an apartment and let people know, hey, check out the apartment. We'd like to sell it. I want to be able to move back. And also, if there's a homicide reported, a dismemberment, and if people are looking on the map going, oh, it's literally around the corner from you, maybe 100 to 150 steps from where your front door of your building is, maybe we're just not going to move into this particular part of town. We're going to keep on looking at other options. But I wanted to see where this went. So as I'm putting this up here, showing you what just came through, because often things get buried. There will be incidents that happen that I hear from people that I'm going, that should make the news, that never make the news. And when I was talking to people while we were still living there, I said, did you hear about what happened in our neighborhood? And there were two people that heard something, but I think they had to go on to Facebook posts or Reddit or something, some blog, to find it. But it wasn't necessarily, it didn't make the nightly news. And so I'm always curious when things do make the news or things happen, what happens with this type of situation. So I didn't have a lot of info to work with when we were still living there. We moved at the end of August. And I just saw this come up here in this last week. There was a judgment made regarding what happened. So I finally am able to kind of find some information on what took place kind of next door, 4 buildings away, 5 buildings away. So it was sort of, looks like someone, a relationship crime where a gentleman dismembered his boyfriend and left body parts in the bag and then in the garbage. And it was interesting because when we were, it's the only time that we were living in Lisbon, and we had police come to our building on different occasions or to other buildings for situations. But we never had something that we knew of was a major crime, like a homicide or murder. And, we knew when it happened, what happened, meaning there was a dismembered body found, but we didn't know the details. Now, a little over a year later, we're finding out the details. But it is something that I'm making this video more out of just my personal curiosity and letting you know kind of something that we were hoping, quite honestly, didn't make the news when we were there because we were trying to sell a place. And thankfully, it doesn't sound like there's any other major crime that's taken place in that area, localized area, since we left. But it is interesting. I would say this: if you're looking to move to another country, could be another city in your own country or your own state or province or district, wherever. Trying to do some diligence on what's really going on isn't that easy, because it's something that when you're looking for crime statistics, you can use Numbeo, that has a loose guideline, but trying to find statistics in the country you're looking to move to often are not as easy to find, which kind of leads to a video I made a few videos ago about the narrative and what goes on, because specifically in Portugal, when I read newspaper publications, there's a couple that are dedicated to immigrants. They're more English speaking people, and those are often a couple that I reference. But the ones that are more newspapers for the citizens of Portugal, I always wonder when I see more crime reported, is it more crime, or is it just more things being reported now compared to the past? So I'm glad to hear that there's a judgment here, and I think this gentleman's going to get 25 years in prison for something that's just really heinous and gruesome. But it's more of just letting you never know what's in your own backyard or what's a block away. The Lapa district was very much, it used to be Embassy Row. There's still several embassies in that neighborhood, but it's quiet, it's residential. Frankly, it's mostly older Portuguese that have lived in these properties for decades. There are not many immigrants like ourselves that had necessarily moved into the area. But it's interesting to see what goes on, and there may be things that happen in your neighborhood that you never hear about unless you actually witness them. So this is something that we knew about, and we're finally seeing a year later. Thankfully, some justice has been served. But it's just a tale again of making sure that you're doing your diligence and trying to find out what's going on. And when you find a place in a city or a town or a village that you want to move to, try to research as much as you can on the history of that area, just to make a better informed decision on whether it's a good place to live or not. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and enjoy your travels.